No Rest for the Wicked promises great gameplay and a unique class system. Although there are some drawbacks, let's deal with what we know. No Rest for the Wicked is an ambitious project from Moon Studios that tries to move from the success of Ori to something completely new. At the very beginning of the game, when the protagonist, Karen, sets off to Isla Sashra to fight Pestilence, players experience a shipwreck and find themselves on the shore with no weapons or armor. This situation creates an atmosphere of tension and forces the player to actively explore the world around them, collecting necessary items such as weapons and armor, as well as uncovering secrets hidden in chests and other hiding places. Loot in the game is divided into 4 levels of rarity: white, blue, purple, and gold. Each of them has its own features and characteristics of enchanting. For example, blue loot is rare and offers high enchantment characteristics, while gold loot offers unique enchantments but comes with a high risk due to a curse with a negative effect. The world of Isola Sacra is handcrafted and is brought to life with dynamic day and night changes and dynamic weather. The environments are interactive and varied, from vines to climb to narrow logs to balance on. Combat in the game feels live, with weight and physics inspired by both RPGs and fighting games. Players can experiment with different runes that provide a variety of special attacks. The class system is flexible, allowing players to create unique combinations of skills and specializations, which adds depth and variety to the gameplay. At the end, players will arrive in the capital city of Isola Sacra, where they can take on various projects to rebuild the island. This includes improving equipment, building houses, and even crafting items from mined resources. The world is constantly changing and evolving, so there is always something new for players to explore and discover. The visual style of the game does not disappoint, and the fact that you're not subscribing disappoints me. Subscribe. The world of No Rest for the Wicked is imbued with the unique magic we're used to seeing from Moon Studios. At times, however, some details seem unnecessarily obscured, which can get in the way of fully immersing yourself in the game's universe. The gameplay of No Rest for the Wicked is a mix of Dark Souls and classic action RPGs, which is an interesting approach overall. However, the game's difficulty can sometimes be a barrier to fully enjoying the experience. Ruthless battles and frequent deaths can cause a sense of frustration for players, especially those who don't like overly complex games. Exploring the world represents one of the game's highlights. Mysterious locations and dark secrets add depth and atmosphere to the game, allowing players to immerse themselves in an immersive world. However, some moments of exploration can seem monotonous due to the lack of variety in game mechanics. After announcing the game's release on Steam Early Access on April 18th, the developers unveiled a roadmap for future updates, which has generated anticipation and interest from the gaming community. The first update, whose release date has not yet been determined, promises to add multiplayer. This will give the game an even more social aspect, allowing players to battle and explore the world with friends. The second update, they called The Breach, promises to bring even more changes to the game world. In addition to improving the storyline, it will include new regions, enemies, bosses, as well as a variety of weapons, armor, and equipment, which will enrich the game experience and offer players even more opportunities to explore. The second update, called The Breach, promises to bring even more changes to the game world. In addition to improving the storyline, it will include new regions, enemies, bosses, as well as a variety of weapons, armor, and equipment, which will enrich the game experience and offer players even more opportunities to explore. In addition, the developers plan to include farming, which will likely come later, as well as additional floors for the crypt, rewards, and trials. These innovations will be added before the game is released from early access, which means that players will be able to enjoy a fully completed and complete game experience. Still, the game offers unique mechanics like weapon oils that add a variety of effects and strategic depth to the combat system. Along the way, the player encounters various settlements and hubs where they can rest, trade, and even invest in building development, unlocking new features and effects in the game. At the moment, there is still not much information about the plot and story of the game, but it is already generating interest and desire to discuss. The player is controlled by a member of an ancient order or sect fighting the Great Plague, which threatens the kingdom after the death of the king. The plot details unfold at the moment of the main character's shipwreck during his missions. The Great Plague, intrigue at court, and a new young heir to the throne create a unique atmosphere that will probably become the object of discussion and debate in the gaming community. There may even be special wikis dedicated to analyzing the lore and history, including parsing the heavy bosses. The game promises a number of interesting features that will be appreciated by players. There are plans to introduce a character editor that will add personality and customization options. The game's world is described as seamless and elaborate without the use of procedural generation. This confirms the attention to detail and variety of locations, which promises exciting and unpredictable adventures. The class system will be similar to Dark Souls depending on the equipment chosen. The classless system will allow for unique combinations of skills and combat styles, which will add depth and variety to the gameplay. Item ranking by rarity level and extensive crafting and upgrading options will give players ample opportunity to experiment and develop their character. No Rest for the Wicked may face a number of drawbacks. For example, outdated graphics and flawed combat mechanics may reduce satisfaction with the game. The lack of in-depth story development and low variety of enemies and bosses can also affect the overall impression of the game world. Lack of gameplay innovation and limited content for long-term motivation should also be considered. In addition, the limited options for interacting with the world around you and the lack of a distinctly unique style can make the game less appealing to players. Overall, No Rest for the Wicked promises to be an engaging experience for fans of challenging games. Despite some shortcomings, the game offers a unique combination of visual style and gameplay that may appeal to a wide audience of players.